Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Money Talks at Campus, the podcast where it bridges the gap between classroom knowledge and real world money. I am your host Shubhranshu, and today's episode is something every student should hear. We are talking about the real finance skills that can blend you into internships, jobs, and manage your money smarter. Basically, what actually pays beyond your degree. And joining us today is someone who has mentored hundreds of finance students and knows what really works in the job market. Dr. M. Chandrasekhar, Professor of Finance at IP Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Subhranshu, for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, so sir, let's get right into it. Students today are surrounded by finance content online, but still many graduates without basic financial skills. In your view, what are some finance skills student must develop in college that are often overlooked?
See, learning finance, it is not only for students, it is must for everybody, right? Even if you see the statutory organizations such as RBI, SEBI, they keep on talking about the importance of financial education, financial skills, financial inclusion, right? But when it comes to the youth, especially the students, uh, it is a must. Why it is a must? Because if you go to social media, there are several fin influencers. They are talking about different financial products, and they are also sharing, how the returns can be made, and there are they're also sharing different avenues where to invest, how to invest, and etc. But are we supposed to believe in those preachers or in those lectures? For that, we need to have thorough understanding on finance, right? What exactly finance is? It is all about value creation. See, as long as you create value, it means what? You are good in managing finances. And value creation happens with two elements. Across the world, anywhere with any expert, if you talk what exactly finance, you'll talk about only two things: how you manage your cash flows, how you manage your costs. So managing cash flows is an important element, and managing cost. Managing cost is nothing but how do you minimize the cost? With having several financial avenues, how you bring down your source of finance cost. So these two elements create value. And if you are creating value, it means what? You are a value creating investor. Another thing important is understanding the concepts, basic concepts. Like you must have heard about the future value of cash flow, present value of cash flow, annuities, perpetuities, something like doubling principle, right? I have 1 lakh rupees. Can you tell me in how many years it is going to be double the investment, right? So for that you have some rules like rule number 72 and rule number 69. Rule number 69 talks about what if the growth rate is changing? What if the continuous compounding is affecting? In that case, doubling rule will be changed. So these are all part of Finance 101. So what I suggest for students, please go and do search maybe on AI tool or maybe on Google search. Just type Finance 101. You will be getting this kind of a list and start working on. And these are all must. These are all must because of technology these days everyone is approaching you, promoting their products, promoting their assets, promoting their investments. So you should ask, is it going to create future cash flows? Is it going to minimize the cost? Is it going to create some kind of CAGR which you are looking for? So all these things certainly matter for any student these days to learn finance.
That is so important, sir, because a lot of time students only focus upon how to clear, their last semesters by late night preparations, but we don't realize that just managing or getting marks in the MBA will not help them, but managing our own money teaches more than a textbook ever can. Right.
Right.
So, can you break it down for our listeners? What are the top finance skills every student should try to learn before graduating?
All right. See, for this, there are different perspectives. Some of them they directly say they talk about analytical tools. They'll say maybe you have to be thorough in financial Excel. They say, right? But whereas my version is how good you are in understanding the business model, and who is the customer, right? So in a way, you can say how well versed you are in fundamental analysis of that particular business. So for which you need accounting 101. So I would say any student to get into finance, first of all, you should know how to read and understand annual reports. So that goes with Accounting 101. And Accounting 101 goes with 4 pages, just 4 pages, 1 page of balance sheet, 1 page of income statement, 1 page of cash flow statement, and 1 page of statement showing changes in shareholders' equity. See, these 4 pages, if a student can able to understand, I'm sure, they are going to get 50% in finance domain, understanding of basic concepts at the same time managing finances can be. In addition to this, there are some institutes like you have an institute by name Institute of Corporate Finance, which offers free certifications, right? Something like you have Fundamentals of Accounting, which is a free certification. It is a 10-hour course. Anyone can able to do online free of cost. Then you go and do Excel for managers. Again, something relating to 10 hours course. Again, you can able to complete in a week's time. Then fundamentals of investing. Again, that is a great important skill. Again, with the same institute, which is again offering free of cost. These are all global certifications. When I'm saying that Institute of Corporate Finance Institute, it is an international one. These certifications are globally ranked, and they have accounted international financial practices. So that way, you can able to read the global companies. What is happening with Apple, what is happening with MSFT, which is popularly known as Microsoft, right? And there they don't use the jargon annual report. They use something like Form 10K, Form 8K, Form 20F. Whereas in Indian scenario, the vocabulary of finance is completely different. Here we use annual report, we use quarterly report, we use latest report, like that. But global markets and global markets certainly will have an effect on Indian markets. So what I advise the students is what visit that particular website and start completing these certifications. That will again help you to cross another 30-40%, so that you will have complete handhold on the accounting and finance domain. In addition to this, there are some paid certifications, but these are not available in the public domain. Like you are our alumni, and you must have heard about Bloomberg certifications. Like for that you need to have a Bloomberg terminal, which is a very costly affair. But if you have access to Bloomberg terminal at your institute, I would advise complete Bloomberg finance fundamental certificates, Bloomberg market concepts, and Bloomberg ESG certification. So these things will help in upgrading the skill set. At the same time, global finances also they can able to understand. These things are sufficient to start with.
Great. So this is a powerful list actually, and those can set a resume apart even, before
Right,
gaining real-time experience by doing such projects.
right,
So going ahead, a lot of students dream of roles in investment banking, consulting, or core finance, but they
right,
feel unsure about, where to start. From your experience, what are recruiters really looking for in a finance candidate beyond just marks or certifications?
right, right. See, this is very, very important. See, when a student is entering into a PGDM program or maybe VBA program, right? You will be fond of a particular area. Like, some students are keen to make their career in the domain of finance. See, finance is a ocean, right? In finance, whether you want to work in the domain of accounting, in the domain of tax, in the domain of corporate finance, in the domain of financial markets, in the domain of bond markets, in the domain of investment banking, private equity, venture capital. So any student, he should define where exactly he is focusing on, whether he is interested in equity research, whether he is interested in conducting mutual funds, or he wants to perform research in the domain of entrepreneurial finance. So students should have a clarity. That is the first step. The second step is what? Once you define that clarity, Accordingly, you need to do the skill mapping. Skill mapping in the sense, suppose I want to aspire like a financial analyst after completion of the program. So I should know what are those, ABCDs of financial analysis. So for that, what I will do, I'll go to LinkedIn. I'll start searching how many financial analysts are there. Right. I'll go to their profile. I'll see their skill sets, their keywords, their endorsements. Right. So that will help me in upgrading the keywords, in upgrading the skill sets, in upgrading the certifications. And these things, once I start incorporating into my CV, it is easy to get CV shortlisted for internship roles. And since you said investment banking, investment banking is all about the keywords, right? There they'll be talking about equity research, they'll be talking about mergers and acquisitions, and financial modeling, valuation. They'll say, DCF, comparables. It's all about the jargon. So students should know, if you have decided the path, then you should follow, right? And those followers are there on LinkedIn with big companies, eminent companies. Every company, they will have financial analysts. Just, aim top 10 companies, just check top 10 financial analyst profile, jot down the skill sets what they have mentioned, and start working on it and incorporate them in your CV. I'm sure your internship will be cakewalk.
So to concise this, first we should start with finalizing into which career
Yes,
we are looking ahead
yes,
into.
yes,
Then we should follow the companies and the top
absolutely,
professionals doing really great since a
absolutely,
long time into this particular industry, and learn from them is what we have to do as a student, right?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. So, as we always say, learn from mistakes. Was there any personal money mistake you made early on that taught you any valuable lesson?
Yes, one thing is what one is see, if you are young and if you are making money, right, it is better to save at the age of early. See, I didn't learn the compounding effects or understanding of that CAGR. No one taught us because we are into different generation, and we understood late the effect of CAGR and all. But you are at the young age, then you start investing at the early age. And before investing, I always say that finance also includes risk, because finance only it is not only about returns, it is also about the risk. So the philosophy of finance, what I see, they are like two eyes. One eye is talking about returns, other eye is talking about risk. So first thing, what you need to do is take care of risk. When I talk about risk, the easiest way to protect is what insurance. Whether you have sufficient coverage in terms of term plan, right? If you are 18 years and above and below 25 years, the term policies are very cheap, and you can go for term policies for maximum sum assured, so that the same premium will continue till the time of your retirement, right? So plain term policy, because insurance is only risk. So just you need to buy the term policy, nothing else. In addition to that, you can also take health insurance policy. So these two, once you complete these two, then you start making investments, right? There you have multiple opportunities. You can invest in mutual funds, invest in SIPs, invest in equities, invest in crowdfunding. Right, since you are young, what I suggest you, if you are getting any opportunity to invest in startups, I would recommend you to invest in straightaway startup rather getting into established capital markets, where the age group of 30, 40 to 50 or 30 to 40, they'll be investing in capital markets. But if you are young, I would suggest invest in ideas, invest in experiments, burn cash, nothing happens. You are going to learn, some experience. That experience will again add more value in the future.
Actually, I love that. So how you explain, first we have to minimize our risk, and then we should go with
Absolutely,
investing into products which has some higher risk but has a higher return potential.
absolutely.
Right. So, sir, now let's take a few questions we got from students over Instagram and our community. These
Ah,
are real doubts from real college students, actually.
okay.
So, the first question is I'm in college and just started earning from freelancing. Where should I invest my first 500 or 1000 rupees?
The easiest way is what these days regulators are promoting about SIP. Right. I would advise, start an SIP. And before investing into SIP, if you go through the newspapers or the news coverage, which is there on the web, right? And every brokerage houses are providing the fund performance, right? So if you go and check, which fund is performing better, and which what kind of fund it is, whether it is equity fund, whether it is fixed income fund, or whether it is diversified fund, right? So what I suggest, you do some initial research, but make investment into SIPs. SIPs is easy because SBI today they are offering SIP even for just rupees 250. Just to rupees 250. Yeah. So 250 rupees you can buy SIP unit in SBI. Right. So if you have app, or maybe if you go to SIP website, SBI website, you can able to find such kind of SIP things are available. Start investing in SIP. Take rest, no problem. After 10 years, you will see the effect of that particular SIP.
Yeah, even at Prashita, we keep suggesting it to any young investor to start with SIP. Even you have,
Yes.
250 rupees or 500
Right.
rupees.
Right.
Uh, in the long term, you will definitely see the magic of compounding, how it
Absolutely.
works.
Absolutely.
Great. So the second question is, everyone says learn Excel, but
Right.
what exactly should we focus on for a finance role?
Right. Right. See, Excel will never create returns. Excel will do, it's a supporting tool. It will make your calculations easy. It will tell you, in short, it will tell you whether you have a positive NPV, whether you are going to get higher IRR, or your IRR will be less, your IRR will be more. For such calculations purpose, Excel will help you. Certainly, Excel will help you. You can use for the calculations and all. But otherwise, what I suggest, as I said, how comfortable you are in understanding the business model, right? To give a simple example, last year when I was doing the orientation session for the newcomers, it was only Chat GPT. But today, if you see, there are thousands of GPTs, right? So what will happen next year? What will happen? Another thousands of GPTs, right? So if you don't understand that business model, and if you keep investing money, I'm sure in next 2 to 3 years down the line, all these apps are going to get crashed. You end up seeing only two or three big players are going to stay. I'll give another example, like telecom companies. Pre-pandemic, India had almost like 12 to 20 telecom companies, like Aircel. You've heard about it, right? Tata Docomo. There were many such companies, but today you end up seeing only what? Not more than two companies, right? Of course, you have Vodafone, BSNL, but in general, you see the 90% of the population are using either it is a Airtel or maybe the other one. Are you getting? So very important thing is what, how good you are in understanding the business and how business generates cash. If you have clarity on that understanding, it means what, you are going to have a finance mastery. So for that, you need to start reading more and more cases which are published in Mint, which are also published in Business Line. And I would recommend start reading few episodes. You will understand the businesses, business functions, and how the businesses are generating cash. That is one, which is very very important. Another thing is what, from the employment point of view. Let's say a student wants to get into finance job, right? In that case, I would suggest, yes, Excel is mandatory, financial modeling is mandatory, and you should know how to plot curves, how to plot charts, how to prepare dashboards, and how to do the situational analysis, sentimental analysis, and also sensitivity analysis, scenario analysis. Because we are living in the world of uncertainty, we have to run through various simulations under different kinds of environments. So as a employee, to work in a finance function, Excel is mandatory. As an investor, to invest in finance, Excel is not mandatory.
Okay, got it. So overall, if we would say, if anyone want to do investment, they would be more focused toward understanding the business rather than if anyone is more focused toward getting a job in finance,
Right.
then Excel as a technical skill is
Absolutely.
mandatory to do
Right.
good in this particular
Absolutely.
industry. That is really helpful, sir.
Right.
So the third question is NISM or CFA level one worth doing while still in college?
See, NISM, I would recommend everybody to do it. Why? Because it is again a regulatory owned institute. It is the institute which is owned by SEBI. SEBI is a market regulator, and the certifications has the latest content, latest guidelines. I would recommend every student who wish to make their career in finance and financial markets. I certainly recommend everybody to do NISM. Of course, there also have so many certifications. Again, it is purely depends whether I want to get into derivative side. I have to do NISM derivatives module. I want to do fundamental analysis, then I will be doing NISM in fundamental analysis. So you should have a clarity whether you want to go with derivatives or maybe fundamental analysis. CFA level one, it is purely a choice. It's not everybody's cup of tea, right? I have seen in the last 3 to 5 years, I have bunch of students, and out of that, almost like 60 to 70%, they have done their NISM certification, they have done their Bloomberg certification, but hardly I can count on my fingers about the CFA level one. Of course, current junior students, they are pursuing CFA level one, and one student, the previous batch, he finished his CFA level one. FRM also these days, people are doing it. Risk management is also emerging. So financial risk management certification is again another one. If anyone is interested, yes, certainly, but it is not everybody's cup of, because it also comes with a huge cost, time, and all. So NISM is easy. If you sit for 2 to 3 weeks consistently, I'm sure you will be getting that certification.
Okay, great, sir. Definitely, it will help many students or viewers to take a decision on this. So, the fourth question going forward is I find the stock market risky. How should I begin as a student investor?
Uh, there is nothing called as risk free in the world of markets. Every instrument comes with a riskiness, and whether it is equity or bonds, you need to prioritize whether you are a high risk taker or low risk taker. Accordingly, you need to make your investment, and no one will say that you need to invest only in equity or only in bonds. It is purely your risk appetite. So what I suggest, again, you go back and start reading some cases which are again presented in Mint newspaper. They say that uh, there are bunch of investors with so and so age group. They have maintained their portfolio, and in that portfolio, they'll say, in $1 of saving, they'll say that 50% they have invested in equity, 30% they have invested in bond markets, and 20% they have invested in mutual funds. It may be vice versa also. Maybe somebody else is investing 50% in mutual funds and 20% only in equity, 30% in again bond markets. So there is no hard and fast rule. It is purely your age, and also what is your risk appetite. So I cannot say that you only invest in this, but if you read such kind of stories, your understanding will enhance, and there is no hurry to make investment. You start SIP parallelly. You try to upgrade your understanding on the financial concepts, and then as you are getting more and more understanding, start investing into such products. That is what I wish to say, for the students, who can able to do it.
Okay. So, sir, going forward, the final question out of all the questions that we have received, it is more toward, how a student should start their corporate experience.
Right.
So, the question is, I want to apply for a finance intensive but don't have experience. How should I build a resume that stands out?
Right. See, I have good number of cases. Forget about experience. I doesn't even have my UG degree in commerce, let's say. But I have many students, the students who is coming with BSc agriculture background, BTech biotechnology background, and BA political science background. They are doing, wonderful career with companies like, K Fintech, Federal Bank, and there are Deloitte. They're also there in Deloitte, different profiles. See, what matters is how passionate you are, right, to make your career in that particular domain. And for that, you need to show the recruiter that you are very much interested to make your career in finance. Since you are a fresher, since you don't have any finance background, you should develop during the tenure when you are in the campus. So for that, maybe you start writing some kind of a a term paper on finance related topics, maybe a blog post on finance related topics, or maybe you do some certification, like whether it is NISM certification or Bloomberg certification, or maybe a blockchain certification, because today people are talking about fintech, right? And even tech professionals these days, they wish to make their career in the domain of finance. 2 days back I was reading, today finance has become number one employment generator. Tech professionals are also getting into finance domain, so fintech space is emerging. Maybe if you start doing some certifications in those emerging areas, your recruiter will get convinced. Why? Because okay, even though the particular student is not having the background, they are trying to fill that gap, and they are also learning it, and they are becoming the finance professionals. We have good number of non-commerce or non-finance background professionals. They were handling the country's finances. Like the best example is our former Reserve Bank of India governor, the Raghuram Rajan. Now, if you go back and check Raghuram Rajan sir's background, he is from BTech, and then got into IIM, then pursued his PhD program. He handled whole country's economy. Now he talks about IMF. Everyone knows about the big
Yeah.
name, right? So what matters is how passionate you are. If you are fond of value creation, managing cash flows, minimizing cost, love about the numbers, then I think these things can convince any recruiter regarding your finance placement.
Exactly, sir. Even one of our senior from 2024 batch, if you remember Abhimanyu,
I
he
mean,
was from BTech background, and he got as a financial modeler with S&P Global.
right,
And
I remember. I remember.
yeah,
Yes.
I was discussing with him, around 3 or 4 days back. He said me
Okay.
that he has been promoted to a team manager now within a span of
Right.
1.5 year.
Right. Right.
So he didn't had a background in
Yes.
finance. He
Right.
came from a BTech background, but
Right.
I think he's doing really great as a finance modeler now.
Right.
So nowadays, companies, rather than looking for experience or rather than looking for skills, they are more looking toward the intent of a student
Right.
to work in the sector.
Yes. Yes.
When at Prashuta, we do hire students, who have the intent to work.
Okay.
So so that is all our questions had. So we'll go for a quick rapid fire round.
Sure.
I will
Sure.
just ask you 5 short questions, and you can answer in a word, in a word, or maybe in one line.
Fine.
So the first question is one finance skill every student must learn.
That's what. Understand the business. Maybe
Great,
you can say, to simplify further. If you know how to read annual report, that is sufficient.
great. So the next is SIP or FD. Your pick
SIP.
for a college student.
SIP. I would
That
I
was
would
very
recommend
good.
SIP. Yeah.
A finance app you recommend?
Fine. See, there are so many apps. I'm not a full-fledged, tech guy, but today there are several apps which are available. Instead of app, what I suggest, there is a website. I think everyone knows about the website. Uh, Ashwath Damodaran. If you start following Ashwath Damodaran's website, because he does everything. He does startup valuations, he does established company valuations, he does intangible valuations, tangible valuations, whatnot. So, if you are a student, if you wish to make your career in the domain of finance, that too in investment banking or M&A or venture capital, start following Ashwath Damodaran. So, Ashwath Damodaran has a blog, and it has everything. What not? It has everything. So that is what I would suggest. Everybody should subscribe Ashwath Damodaran's page.
Great, sir. A money habit that changed your life.
I ensured that whatever the take-home salary I get, right, I ensured that my debt should not be more than 50% of it. So I
Okay.
always tend to make the debt, whatever the debt, whether it is credit card loan or house mortgages or car loans, whatever it is, it should not be more than 50%. So there is a cap that
Hmm.
everybody should follow. You decide what exactly is the cap. So
Okay.
that should happen with your net salary rather than the gross salary.
Yeah. So, sir, as you rightly mentioned that, the loan we should be taking should be
Right,
50% of our
right,
net take-home salary.
right,
So
right,
even I
right.
will, apply this while managing my personal money as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes.
So The last question is one
Right.
book every student should read on money.
See, there are so many books. Actually, if you go to any bookstore, it begins with, Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Then Warren Buffett books are also there. See, finance today, it is all about the influence of networking, right? I would say I read one interesting book. It's by Sandra Nivedi. The title of the book is Super Hubs. Right.
Okay.
So I would say, if you start reading this book, your whole perspective of the finance and financial markets will change completely. So why? Because all the financial decisions, across the globe, right? Whether it is World Bank or IMF or you name any big shots, right? Like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, in private, public, you name any big uh, investor who makes any decision, it is purely with the networking. And that networking effects are mentioned in that particular book. It's by Sandra Nivedi. And uh, Nouriel Rubani is the person who wrote the foreword for that book. Uh, and it's an excellent book. I would recommend to read super hubs. Another one, to understand the financial markets, the financial products, the banking system, and it's a very small book, very thin book, which comes for rupees 200 or so. The name of the book is Basics of Banking by uh, Bispajit Das. So that is a simple book, easy book. It will make your whole understanding of the banking products, and whether it is loans or deposits or schemes, whatever, I think that will be a good start for a beginner and someone who wants to go to higher level investment banking level and etc. Maybe I would recommend them to start reading the super hubs.
Okay, great. So they can choose either of these two books as
Yes,
per their
yes,
expertise into
absolutely,
finance. Right?
absolutely.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing such practical and inspiring advice. I'm sure every listener, whether they are in their first year or final year, will take away something useful today. So, to everyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends, follow us on Instagram, and follow for much such episodes. Until next time, this is Shubhranshu signing off from Money Talks at Campus because money talks only if you listen. See you soon.
Thank you so much.